Hello and welcome to the PowerSwitch, gaming's call-in talk radio show. My name is Peter Spezia, and today is May 5th, 2018. This is the 42nd episode of the podcast. Thank you for tuning in. We use Discord as a means to add and drop callers to talk about video games, and switch the power that is found in a typical gaming podcast. You can join our server to participate during recordings at rhymeswithasia.com/call. On today's episode, a new trailer for Red Dead Redemption 2 in our headline roundup. Our main topic is early Microsoft E3 2018 predictions, and then we will get to your calls if you are tuning in live on Discord. So good to be back here on this weekend recording. Seems we already have people lined up ready to call in, so that is exciting. The E3 2018 kind of early predictions episodes seem to be doing pretty well when it comes to views. Not that I'm surprised. I'm kind of someone who scours YouTube for E3 2018 predictions rather early and see what people come up with. So I am glad to see that, but we'll keep the trifecta going today with Microsoft before we move on. And then eventually, it's going to be the contest for E3 2018 that we do here. So that will be really exciting. But yeah, very excited to kind of continue the almost like the sports call-in talk radio format for games, get you to call in. But we're going to start with what's happening this week in games with our headline roundup. We'll start with Nintendo making more news from their Investor Day, but also mentioning their E3 2018 plans. That leaves Sony as the last big company to confirm their E3 2018 presentation. Nintendo, of course, will go at that Tuesday noon Eastern time slot as they usually do with a video presentation. Beforehand, however, they've mentioned that they will have tournaments. So the Splatoon 2 tournament starts on the Monday. They kind of have some opening round qualifiers. The finals will be on the Tuesday, kind of later in the afternoon there, because of course, after the Tuesday presentation, they'll have Treehouse Live as they will for the next few days. After they kind of have the Splatoon 2 finals on that Tuesday afternoon, following that goes right into Super Smash Bros. For Nintendo Switch, that tournament there. That will all be very exciting to see, on top of all the other company presentations at E3 2018. But for this podcast group in general, Smash Brothers is a special time, especially when the Smash hype is real. That could be possibly tied into news that Nintendo will make an announcement on their website this month. They say early May, so maybe very soon, about their online plan, what the strategy will be, what the pricing will be, what they will offer. I'm sure they will have a video to go along with it, probably embedded into the website, but it's not like they're going to be making a special Nintendo Direct just for it. It's going to be one day out of the blue. We're going to see that Nintendo Switch online plans are confirmed. They're still committing to September 2018. Will that mean that Nintendo will say, hey, let's launch Super Smash Bros. Day and date with that? That would be very intriguing. I think we'll have to wait for E3 to get that final release date and see if that is part of their plan. It all depends on how far along in development it is. But it would be good to see more of those plans. And then Nintendo also talked about that Nintendo 3DS plans to be sold into 2019 and beyond. Now, we may groan and say, just move games onto Switch already. Like, you don't have to keep rolling out new titles for 3DS. Like, we've moved on to Switch. Aha, but the overall gaming populace has not yet, especially when they talk about younger players and try to get into that entry level into the Nintendo ecosystem for parents. 3DS, 2DS, what have you, still an affordable entry point. So they are still talking about when Switch becomes more of a, one per person device as opposed to a one per household device. That's when I think they'll transition fully. And, maybe by then the 3DS is so outdated as it already is. I mean, that system launched in 2011. Like, it's already dated on a tech front by those means. So you have to think, you gotta, of course, with E3, they're gonna be talking about Switch games. And even in their presentation, they say with the focus of Super Smash Bros. Of course, that does mean they'll talk about more games for Switch. So I'm glad that, that seems to be the main focus. But yeah, it's still, they don't want to kill off 3DS in a way that maybe, PlayStation didn't want to kill off Vita for so long, right? Some games will still come out for it, but they want it as a possible entry point to get people into a Nintendo ecosystem. So that is all super fascinating, and certainly something we can talk about if you'd like to call in about that. But other headlines that have happened, big news this week, Red Dead Redemption 2 got a new trailer, kind of nailing down the time frame for this game, 1899. I guess it didn't occur to me necessarily. I mean, we knew for a while, this game is going to be a prequel to the original Red Dead Redemption, but I would have thought that was like late 19th century. Oh no, apparently Red Dead Redemption was 1911 when we were talking about where that game took place as far as what year it was. So this is 12 years earlier. Of course, this is about the Vanderland gang, which John Marston used to be a part of. And John Marston makes a couple appearances in this trailer. He's kind of shown, at least in a sort of knife point neck grip there. He still has his face scars that have some stitches there. I mean, that's at least one appearance there. I'll post in the show notes. Polygon has an interesting trailer breakdown there. If they have John Marston speak at all, it would be key to bring back at least someone who can emulate the voice well. There's a whole, past articles where, the actor who played John Marston so well, back in 2010 for Red Dead Redemption, like that was his big break, and then he never really got back to acting in the video game industry. So at least hopefully someone can emulate his voice rather well. But yeah, so that's going to be a very interesting game to see how that develops. It's hard to tell what is a cinematic, what is gameplay. I'm sure they showed a couple shots that look gorgeous, but we haven't seen the full gameplay. Rockstar is kind of known to say, hey, we're gonna roll out some video later that's like, here's all the things you can do in Red Dead Redemption 2. So I mean, I'm sure that'll come out in the months leading up to it, but that could be a possible Game of the Year contender when it's all said and done for 2018. Ikaruga is coming to Nintendo Switch on May 29th. This is the legendary bullet hell shooter where there are two colors of bullets and your ship can change between colors. Always kind of a very top-down sort of style game with a vertical screen, which makes it perfect for Nintendo Switch when you can have the screen be oriented vertically. I don't know how they make that work with like a kickstand. If they can support all of that weight, that would be something interesting to see, but that would be a great way to play that game, I think, is have the Switch be vertical and then you have the Joy-Cons disconnected, what have you. But good to see that classic coming to Switch on May 29th. Star Wars Episode 1 Racer, another classic of old, originally on Nintendo 64. I think it might have been on Dreamcast though, don't get me wrong. But originally, I know most people remember playing it on N64, but it's coming to PC. Originally, just now it's on GOG. So go get that there if you're excited for the return of Episode 1 Racer. Beyond Good and Evil 2 showed some pre-alpha footage. It is nice to see that something is at least functional for that game, a year out after that surprise E3 2017 reveal to end the Ubisoft show. So go check that out. That exists. And then, unfortunately, some sad news as John Bain, also known as TotalBiscuit, Cynical Brit, is retiring as a game critic. This is due to his liver cancer issues, a lot of just health problems. Just really kind of sobering to see him and his team make a long post just kind of detailing what's going on. And it's when someone has to say that, this may be the last health update you received to me, and have to start considering what their plans are if they do not have long left to live. It's just really, really tough to see for a kind of an icon in the online space for video game commentary. Think what you will about him, but he has established a brand really with him, and then his co-optional podcast. It sounds like he is trying to transition things so that his wife is going to take over the mantle for co-optional, and she's been doing YouTube streams and all that. But yeah, that's really tough. Send your thoughts to him and his family. As a couple years ago, he mentioned that he was going to be off social media for a while as he continued to fight this, but it sounds like things are nearing the end of the road there. So that's really, really sad to see. And we want to wish all the best to him and his family. it's hard to transition out of that, I know, but let's get to our main topic. And so we talked about these kind of early E3 2018 predictions. And so for the podcast that I've done in the past and for this show, I like to come up with 50 yes or no questions where kind of thinking about the talking points and how we are kind of thinking that E3 is going to go, kind of presenting these hypotheticals and will this happen by the end of E3, yes or no? So we did these for Nintendo, we did these for Sony. Of course, these can change before our contest officially starts. There are a couple weeks to go. The video game industry can change, news can happen. So I wanted to kind of close the trifecta of what we've already done here to kind of, with the revitalization of this podcast and what we've chosen for main topics for the first couple episodes here, let's talk about Microsoft and the Xbox brand today. Number 1, will a brand new first-party intellectual property be announced? I think at the end of the day, it really is dependent on what Microsoft's strategy is with first-party games, right? They can bring in all the third parties that they want. They can throw marketing dollars, or maybe they are starting to hole up and starting to plan for the next console beyond the Xbox One brand overall. Yes, they had, the One X, and that's super powerful. But as these companies are starting to formulate over the next couple of years, whether it's holiday 2019 or into 2020, what their next generation plans are. Do you start kind of holding some of your cards back to have a very strong launch there? So that's going to be really the key for Microsoft this year, of course, is where are the first party games? What is their first party studio situation? Phil Spencer likes to talk about how we need to kind of build and invest in these studios, but we've compared it in the past and it still rings true today. You look at Sony's first party library and it's an impressive bevy and collection of studios and their respective PS4 games. Microsoft, you have 343, you have the Coalition, you have Rare, and then, Turn 10 as well. But what else is really beyond that? I mean, after you've closed Lionhead, you closed a couple other, studios. So what is that situation? That's going to be the key this year. So that's going to be really the brand new first party intellectual property, something new beyond the Halo, Gears, Forza, all that. Will that happen? Similarly, number 2, will Halo 6 be revealed? Not necessarily for this year. I think even if we just see a tease, almost like the big machine guardian chief in the desert sort of video, just to say, yes, we're working on it. Yes, this is the plan for concluding our second Halo trilogy, because as disappointing as Halo 5 may have been on a campaign front, they did have several story threads that they need to close that loop on. You could say maybe it will be a Halo Battle Royale for this year, and that's how Microsoft is going to try to get into the Battle Royale craze. And what, first-person shooter property would better work for that than Halo? So maybe you say, 2019 for Halo 6, and maybe we're saving that for our next console. But will a trailer of that game happen? Number 3, will an all-new Gears of War or Fable game be revealed? I think if you ask me, I think Gears of War 5, it makes sense to show a trailer. I mean, we're a couple years removed from 4, and they again have story threads that they can continue. Fable is the interesting one, though. If you thought about, different rumors at the start of the year that, someone's working on Fable 4, like, would that be a reveal for an E3? Is that real at all? One of those two happening would make this a yes, so we'll have to see. Number 4, will Crackdown 3 receive a specific release date? Ah, yes, Crackdown. From the age of the cloud technology to, it's a thing here again, and then it's kind of gone a bit in the ether. Is this going to be another showing of Crackdown 3? And maybe is Games Pass going to be, tied into it? That would be certainly interesting. But a specific release date, will that happen at E3? Number 5, will a racing game specifically titled Forza Horizon 4 be announced? So if we're talking about the trade-offs each year for Forza games, this would be a Horizon year. Thus, it would be Forza Horizon 4. However, it's a question of, do they mix up the naming convention, or is something else planned? Some people think maybe it's in Europe this year, or maybe the game is in Japan. Maybe it's a bit, Fast and Furious Tokyo Drift like. Whatever it is, I'm sure it will do well for them. But yeah, will the Forza game this year be Horizon 4? Number 6, will Below and Ashen be shown during the conference? Now, these are indie games that, the Xbox Indie Initiative like to prop up. I think, even as far back as 2013 was when we first saw Below, and then maybe Ashen was a couple years later. Well, Below we've now seen on the PAX East show floor. I went and saw that, and seems like it's coming together really well. But for both of these games to be shown during the conference, that'll be a pretty tough order. Games that have been shown long ago and hopefully are further along in development. But if they want to have that indie push, those would be 2 titles to show for sure. Number 7, will an old Rare property be rebooted in some fashion? So I think the last time we had this kind of question, it was talking about, here are these other possibilities, but Killer Instinct seemed like the possibility at the time, and it was. But now people are seeing different things kind of circulating, and they're wondering about Perfect Dark. Perfect Dark seems to be the front runner of, if a Rare property is kind of being revitalized, it would possibly be that. Some people, of course, like to throw out Banjo-Kazooie, and that would certainly be a big megaton there. But Rare could say, hey, we're still laying low. We're still trying to work on Sea of Thieves. We're trying to push out more content for that, and we don't have anything this year. Could be entirely possible as well. Number 8, will Minecraft be mentioned during the conference? Last year it was see Minecraft in 4K, and it's still cubes at the end of the day. You do realize this, right? Minecraft, they paid a couple $2 billion for it. I think it's one of the biggest games still in the world. You'd probably have to show it in some capacity, but the question is what? Or they could surprise us and say, again, we're gearing up for big things from Minecraft, and we have nothing to show this year. So also possible. Number 9, will online multiplayer capability be permanently included with a Game Pass subscription? Of course, this would be a bombshell announcement to make. They did run a promotion, though, and of course this is saying that the Xbox Live Gold functionality would be merged into Xbox Game Pass. It's all a matter of the calculations on Microsoft's end. Do they make more money from people saying $10 a month and either using it or forgetting they have it and having things lapse and go over month to month? Do they make more money that way, or everyone's saying, yep, $60 a year, lock it in, guaranteed? Of course, when you do $10 a month, that's $120 a year. That's kind of doubling that. But of course, people can say, I want it, or I don't want it this month, or just kind of check in there. I'm sure they're doing calculations. It may be a bit early to tell, and especially when they had this, kind of trial period where they're seeing, are people going to jump on this and say, hey, try Games Pass for free, for 1 month, or have Gold kind of include Games Pass for a month. That would be really big to see, especially if they're trying to go with the, all of our first party games are launching on Games Pass day and date, as they've already announced. That seemed to work well with Sea of Thieves, though Sea of Thieves have already lost half of its player base from that, right? So, a big initial hit, get a lot of people trying the game, but are you retaining all of those players? A lot of calculations to be made on Microsoft's end, but it would be big if they made this news. And number 10, will virtual or augmented reality be mentioned during the conference? Of course, Microsoft has HoloLens. They've talked about partnerships with Rift and things like this. But the last time they kind of showed it at E3 was the Minecraft demo with, zombie pigmen and all of that. Remember that and how great that demo was? So it may still be too early, especially on HoloLens. They have, dev units out there. They're trying to get the word going for that. But that may be something that I think would be saved for the next console generation. Could still happen, though. It just takes a mention. So those are kind of where I am right now with these kind of 10 thoughts about Microsoft at E3 2018. Of course, subject to change before our big contest starts in a few weeks at the end of May. That'd be really exciting. But that's what I have to say. When we come back, we will get to the callers. You can either talk about any of the headlines, any of our main topic questions or points here, games you've been playing, or anything else you'd like to talk about. It's all open there for you. That's when we come back here on the Power Switch. Welcome back to the Power Switch. Got a few callers lined up. Let's get ready to talk about Microsoft, E3, and all sorts of topics. Joining us from New Jersey, Matt, welcome back to the Power Switch. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing about as well as someone with a bunch of allergies can be doing in the middle of spring.
I think that's about all we have to say. I've been sneezing. I'm getting the itchy eyes going. It's about that time of the year. But good to have you back on the show. Glad to have you calling. What would you like to talk about today?
So I think Microsoft's got a unique problem that they've got to fix in the industry with their exclusives.
Mm-hmm.
Sony and Nintendo both have very strong exclusive properties lately, and Microsoft not only is not known for a lot of exclusive IPs right now, they pretty much just have Halo and Forza, and Forza doesn't really have a lot of appeal in the general gaming community as nearly as much as some other games. But not only do they only have those couple series, they also have the promise that all of their games are going to be not only for Xbox One but also for Windows 10.
Right.
Which, as a PC gamer, I appreciate that a lot, but it makes a big concern for them as the Xbox brand. The Xbox console has kind of an uphill battle to fight, because when you put all your stuff out on PC, the PC gamers are gonna be buying your games, but they're not gonna be buying your console. And the console gamers, there's just not much there for them. They've got Microsoft probably has the best offerings as far as services go, because they've done a lot to really make the Xbox One a good console, but it's the opposite that really matters, because Sony is the one that's killing it right now. And I think Sony has a lot of problems with their offerings and service. I think the operating system for PlayStation is pretty bad, and their feature set is taking forever for them to get at decent functionality. They only added folders on the main menu last year,
right?
And the main menu is still a mess in my opinion.
And then PlayStation now, you dump so much money in that, and Microsoft's killing it in backwards compatibility.
Yes, but when it comes down to it, more people are buying PlayStation because PlayStation has the better games. So Microsoft can have the best console that they want, but they're not bringing the games along with it. I don't particularly care to buy an Xbox because they've promised all their games will come to PC. And they've put themselves in a really awkward position there, because they can't really walk back on that promise, because then they lose the PC market in a big way. And I definitely don't think they want to do that. So I think what they need to do, and I'm not really sure how they would do this, but they need a way to get the third parties on board, because third party games, that come from EA, Ubisoft, they need to court those games into wanting to develop either exclusive games or console exclusive games for Xbox.
Yeah.
There's a certain extent of the market that just will not go PC. So you don't necessarily need full exclusive games for them. You do just need the console exclusives. But it's the games that Ubisoft, EA, Activision, all of them are making that can make a big difference in a console purchase. Because if you're not a PC gamer, then you're still going to be playing those games on console. So if Microsoft can manage to get in some big games from the third parties that will not be going to PlayStation, they could get a real foothold in the market that we're not seeing right now. And I don't necessarily think we will be seeing that at Microsoft. Like I was kind of saying earlier in the chat, that I don't necessarily have any predictions for what I think Microsoft will be doing. But I kind of do have these ideas on what I think they should be doing. And that's kind of what I see they should be doing right now. They should be trying to court the third parties so that they can have a good representation on their console to compete with Sony and not have to walk back on their promise of all of their games coming to PC.
And I think the only way they can do that is to leverage the 4K gaming Xbox One X angle. And I don't think I've seen any, sales stats. They're not boasting about it. Certainly, I'm sure it's done fine enough for them as far as Xbox One X console sales go, but I don't think it's
actually stopped reporting their sales for Xbox One back in 2014.
Right. It's 'cause when they get trounced so mightily, they don't want to say, "Oh yeah, we're down 2-1 overall for PS4 and Xbox One." But I do wonder if the 4K entry with Xbox One X is a significant enough market disruption that they are courting some of these third parties. I mean, because of course we did see with Rise of the Tomb Raider, Square Enix tried to, have an exclusive game there for a while. It didn't work out so well. They brought it to PS4. They got some more games or some more sales there a year later. But overall, we see clearly that when they're bringing Shadow of the Tomb Raider for this year, they're bringing it multi-platform again. So clearly they didn't want that relationship there again. Yeah, I think the only way Microsoft can leverage it is we said it's with 4K, and I don't know if that's a big enough difference.
And I think with Tomb Raider specifically, I think that franchise is something of a B franchise right now. It's a series of good games, and it has a lot of very passionate fans, but it doesn't reach quite the wide market appeal that you would need to leverage purchases for Xbox.
Right. I'm a little surprised by, there hasn't been much sizzle about it. I mean, they had that new trailer roll out, and you just don't have people really talking about it. I'm a little surprised that way, but maybe we'll see when September rolls around and it gets closer to release if that has any pickup there. Back to the PC market and all that, I think it's going to be really interesting to see when the Halo announcement is made to say, yep, Halo to PC, officially supporting it. Another big hurdle there, they have to embrace Steam. I think if you say that, we're just going to be very insular and it's going to be only on Windows 10 Store, I think you kind of lose the battle there.
The Windows 10 Store has a really awful reputation for it is basically Games for Windows Live.
Right. It's
rebranded, but it is pretty much the same system in a lot of big ways. And Games for Windows Live was famously really bad. So I think it's not impossible for them to get a decent market showing on the Windows 10 Store, but I don't think that if they try to go against like Steam and Origin and GOG, it's just not going to work out for them.
Yeah, it's a tough competition there. I do wonder if they're really building up for an Xbox 2 or whatever you have it. Like if you're going to really build up the first party stable and really hit it out with a bang there, you got to think the next generation here. I think this is lost here. Kind of stay the course with, sequels that you are expected to release here for this generation, but they got to really build up for the next generation, try to take it there combined with their Games Pass and get that rolling.
Yeah, Game Pass is a pretty good idea overall. We've seen a lot of services pop up where it's like, just pay a little bit of money every month and you'll get full access to games for no extra costs. Humble Bundle's doing it, although a little differently with the permanently own it. Origin does it, and it's a really good way to get people talking. But they also have to flesh out the service a lot, which kind of goes back to them needing their own strong games. I think they were kind of counting on Sea of Thieves to be a big one, but ultimately just kind of fell flat. There are some people that really very much enjoy it, but when I tried out the game, I got the same feeling as No Man's Sky, and I know I'm not alone in that. So yeah, that was kind of like their one big release that they had planned out so far this year. So if they don't have anything else in the pipeline to really make up for it, God knows what happens from here.
Yeah, I mean, they're starting to talk up State of Decay 2. I mean, some influencers got previews for that, but that really seems like a game like, yeah, if you play the first one and you like it, you'll play the second, but that doesn't have the big appeal, and heaven knows what happens with Crackdown. So a lot of things to talk about. It's very good discussion. Matt, thank you so much for calling in, and we'll see you next time.
Very well.
Joining us from Texas, Disco, welcome to the PowerSwitch. How are you?
Howdy, I'm doing great. I'm glad to be here.
Well, thank you so much for tuning in and listening. It's great to have you. What would you like to talk about today?
Well, I'd like to talk about some predictions that I have when it comes to Microsoft E3.
Yeah.
And it seems to be rather a kind of a vocal point, of course, since that we're practically on the podcast.
Yeah.
And our own starting point. So let me begin by saying that I don't think. I do think they're going to be a brand new first party, but I don't think it's going to be here this year because they have specific things. Microsoft, matter of fact, they like catering to the trending of the young generation. We already know them, the kids who like to follow the favorite YouTubes, the PewDiePie and Markiplier.
Sure.
We already know them. We already know them pretty well. We see them all the time. They're the ones who the parents with the most high buy-in that comes in. And so they're probably going to just sit back and look what their competitors are going to do so that way they can understand kids much more better. That's my own view because I kind of see how that kind of works around. Because they did try to do that with Connect, and that looked like that failed pretty horrendously.
Right.
Will all new Gears of War Fable game be revealed? Fable will probably be revealed. I've been seeing a lot of posts, and people are seriously up in arms for another Fable because we're in the new generation of Xbox One, and because of that, we will want new Fable. We want new Fable. We want a diverse area, especially now that we're more diverse than we ever been in years. We have people from different countries and different genders and different areas, and kids from ages 2 to 12 years old are now learning about past video games. So we are probably going to have a very diverse area. So we'll see more Fable than rather Gears of War. And honestly, that sounds like a good thing because Fable was much more, I'm not saying it was more popular than Gears of War, obviously, but it was more connected to the game, to the gamer at heart, because during Fable, you had more customization.
Yeah, if that happens, it'll be interesting to see who takes up the mantle. Of course, they killed Lionhead, but the thought is that Playground Games would be the one to be working on a new Fable game, and they've worked on Forza Horizon. So, they kind of know the idea of an open world, but, I guess, trade out a car for a horse or what have you, so...
And you might even have wagon racing at that
right
point. I would love to see that. I can already think of new ideas coming out of nowhere. Crackdown 3, I should expect it in 2020. I'm not holding my breath, however. They're hard to locate and hard to deal with when it comes to these type of games. They're so put into storage when it comes to developers that no one wants to talk about it. They want to talk about the new area and rather focusing on Crackdown 3 or another Rare title. It's so weird when it comes to these kind of games. So honestly, I'm hoping it will come this year, but at the same time, I'm skeptical because this is Microsoft. They're known to yank our chain for 5 seconds and say, you thought wrong.
I know they mean well behind Crackdown, but there's got to be a really good developer story behind it, kind of the behind the scenes look. There's got to be a really good story there for a journalist to tell.
Yes, and I just don't see any fodder for it. I just don't hear any noise coming from that kind of crowd. Mm-hmm. And that's sad. Yeah. That really is, because they both were great games. So I'm hoping it. But once again, games are now becoming to the medium that we are heading for, where they're related to media. And I really want to see where this Crackdown wants to go to. Yeah,
especially when they talk up, a games as a service and all things like that. I'm sure that would be a kind of game where, as you mentioned before, they can put in microtransactions and things like this.
It's one of those many great mysteries. Will an old Rare property be rebooted in some fashion? Yes and no. Yes, as in they'll probably take some form of Rare property that they've actually been worked on for a long period of time, such as Conker's Bad for a Day. They might be working about that for another version of that as well. And no, they'll probably be working on themselves and keeping it much more closed and shut and closed, because it's Rare we're talking about here. And Rare is like a dog with a chain leash to their post, which is called Microsoft.
Yeah.
Microsoft can let them go at any given time. At the same time, they can just grab the pup and put him back in his leash.
That's a good point.
Yeah, it is that and that. It is.
Mm-hmm. We're thinking of different, properties there too. I mean, Battletoads is also right there. They had Rash there for Killer Instinct. They had, Phil wearing T-shirts. Yeah. I mean, gosh, you think of all the ones that are possibly at Battletoads could be up there too.
I'm hoping it is Battletoads, however, that maybe Rare will prove us all wrong, that they're not going to be silent. Will Minecraft be seen at E3? You betcha.
Mm-hmm.
Knowing Minecraft, my girlfriend's even in love with Minecraft. Like, dude, she just got finished talking to me about modding Minecraft. You know what they're gonna do? They're gonna bring up Minecraft once again. They said this time we're gonna let you do more stuff to it, and it's just gonna supply and demand. Because if my girlfriend, who's 20, and she's having a great time with it, is playing this game, 9 times out of 10, like any kid, including my younger sister, will enjoy this game.
Mm-hmm.
It's bringing a diverse area of kids. They're never going to stop milking that thing. That thing is probably going to be around since 2040. Then they'll say, Minecraft 2, except now you can play as the dragon.
Oh my god, that'd be crazy. Now I do wonder how, like, if they've already passed that 2 billion point. I have to imagine they have. Like, it seemed crazy at the time. It's like you're buying it from Mojang for $2 billion, but for how they've been milking it, and they've been doing well with it, I'm sure they've made that up and then some.
It's at the point where we're stocking it over at Academy, where we see more Minecraft than actually sports sometimes, and it's just crazy.
Wow.
It's like, yeah, you know this is going to be one of those big greats. Will online multiplayer have a Game Pass? Yeah. Yeah, they will. They are a company at the end of the day, and things are still up in the air, but it would make actually some big stuff if it was just $60 per year. I mean, I can see myself paying like, oh, it's just $60 per year? Okay, well, here you go. And no one can just cancel it out. Just buy that pass and boom, you're there.
Right.
And passes are better than the excruciating economical exchange of, oh, well, I can cancel it at any time and get my money back. Because you can't screw over a business guy as he's been screwing off more people than ever. It's just at that area where we're at the point where, yep, they're probably going to be rich and just choose 60 per year. And knowing people, they will buy that 60 per year.
Oh, yeah.
So there's also that. Yeah.
I mean, seen it with Amazon Prime and things like that, absolutely. And I think you make an interesting point where if Microsoft really wants to make any disruption in the game industry, and they certainly wanted to at the start of the Xbox One generation with the, the digital titles, like, this is the way to do it. Try to get people buying games this way instead of necessarily at retail and things like that.
It will definitely shut down a lot of GameStops if they actually know what they're doing
right.
when it comes to it. Like, hey, if you buy the digital art pass now, we'll have Halo 1 and 3 and a bundle.
Oh, gosh, yeah. Yeah, it's entirely possible. I mean, GameStops are becoming like half Funko Pop stores anyway, so,
True. In nerd-based culture,
yeah.
you go in the store, you see on the right, it's more of a Hot Topic nerd store than it was the gaming store. It's
sad, but unfortunately that's the way it's going.
But I can't wait for the future. My hope for Microsoft. I really am optimistic at the same time pessimistic. So either way, here's to Microsoft, and I hope that will definitely take care of it.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of hype this year for E3 2018 as a whole, but Microsoft, like, there's definitely some interest as what are they going to do? How are they going to move in the industry? And I think it's definitely going to be something to watch. Well, Disco, thanks so much for calling in. Really appreciate the time. You have a great day, all right?
Hey, thank you. You too. Be safe out there.
Thank you. Will do. And joining us from Michigan, Miles, welcome to the PowerSwitch. How are you?
I am doing just fine. Always happy to be on any one of your shows, at this point.
Yeah, it is good to have you. Of course, long time Show Me Your News veteran, former co-host there, long time. We've known each other for years now, and it's good to have you call in this format. We got to have you on as a co-host one of these days, when it's fitting. But good to have you call in. What's up?
Well, nothing too much. I just saw you were doing the Microsoft one, and back in the Show Me Your News era, I was known as the Microsoft guy.
Yes, you were.
Having the only Xbox 360 as one of my consoles, because I certainly didn't have anything going on with the Wii, and I never owned a PlayStation until the PlayStation 4. Technically I had a PS2, but I won that from Burger King. So I feel a little bit out of place when I say I'm pretty sure Microsoft's going to shit the bed.
It's entirely possible. It could go one or two ways, and it's a fair prediction to make.
I see the point of saying it could go one or two ways. I do not feel like that could happen. I don't think that in any way this conference is going to change how I feel about Microsoft. But nothing they've done the last 3 years has made me feel different about Microsoft. Now, the Game Pass is something I've only just started to look into. Like, I heard about it, I'm like, well, that's probably going to be horrible. But as it's come in through and through Sea of Thieves, I'm like, oh, they actually might have something here.
Yeah, it's definitely appealing to say, you know, I can play a $60 game for just $10 right now on launch day. It's an appealing prospect.
It is. However, I will raise you that Blockbuster did that. That was cheaper, but, you know, big budget, super exclusive games generally don't fall like $7 in a month, which is something you can kind of do in Games Pass, but like they're big AAAs that are going to jump on Game Pass. It's probably only going to be about 4 or 5 a year.
Yeah, not too many.
If that. So you're thinking to yourself, oh, I'm paying $10 a month. That's $120. Well, I could have gone down to, you know, Blockbuster, Family Video for people here in the Midwest. And, you know, who knows what else out there, you know, your video game rental stores. And, you know, I went and got Halo 3 from my Family Video the day of. We picked it up for one night for $4, beat it in 4 hours, and then handed it back the next morning. But honestly, I think we're going to see Halo, and I think they're going to try to make it their biggest thing. You know, at the end of conference, we didn't talk about Halo. We've got one more game to announce. Is going to be Halo. If not Halo, because they might lead with Halo, because come on, it's Halo. I think I have not played the 4th installment, but I think they'll do that for like Gears of War 5.
Yeah.
Because, you know, 4 came out and no one's really talking about Gears of War 5. It's better than talking about Gears of War Judgment, I'll tell you that much.
Yep, spot on.
So the thing is that I wanted to kind of come into for this is that when I was looking at the E3 and I was looking at Microsoft, I realized that I did not watch Microsoft's conference last year. Like, I was thinking about it, and I'm like, I think I saw the Nintendo Direct, and I remember giving Ubisoft like 5 minutes of my time, and I was going through, and I'm like, I don't think I cared enough about Microsoft. And then I realized, what do they do anymore?
Yeah, what are their first parties?
What are their first parties? What are their first party titles? What are their actual exclusives that don't come out for Windows as well? So I know they're trying to kind of merge those two properties, so everyone thinks, you know, Microsoft for Xbox is just like same as getting them for Windows, like Ori and the Blind Forest and you know, Minecraft, I guess.
We'll totally see Will of the Wisp, the Ori sequel. We'll throw that out there. We'll totally see that.
Oh yeah, totally seeing that. But I was going through it in my head. I'm just kind of like, with PS4, I can immediately think of certain hard-hitting PS4 games. You know, Bloodborne, God of War. You know, we got these huge, heavy hitters that you're just like, that's the PS4 brand. And then, you know, you got Nintendo, obvious heavy hitters. Their brand is, you know, as solid as you can make them. Microsoft, you're like, oh, they're Halo. But then you're in the back of your head, you're like, everyone hated Halo 5. Okay, so I shouldn't really be all that excited because obviously they can shit the bed on Halo, so they can shit the bed on anything. And then you're like, okay, what about Gears of War? Well, Judgment was horrifying, and
4 was ho-hum. Yes, it was okay.
Yeah, it was okay, and that's not okay when your flagship titles is considered an okay game. So when you start dialing it back and you just hear, it's okay for your hardest hitting, your biggest games, it's okay. You don't have an identity because Xbox is pretty much losing. And now I can understand that Game Pass is a bold move. And I really like the idea because it's that Netflix for games. I remember back in the day, all the time on like Show Me Your News, we just kind of say, you know, the dude bro culture of the Microsoft games. And I'm like, I don't think that's really Microsoft's anymore. Dude bro culture is Fortnite now.
You're right there. And it does make me wonder if they'll try to latch onto the Battle Royale sort of thing. I mean, gosh, if they do something like Halo Battle Royale, it would make me concerned for what's happening with 6, because we are certainly overdue when you space out all the mainline games, and we're overdue for at least hearing about 6. So that does concern me. I'm trying to think of, like, when you think of protagonists, and you know, because Sony, it's clear, Nintendo, it's clear. Gears of War, Marcus's son JD, like, not the best, most memorable protagonist. Forza, car. Like, I mean, great games. Forza, great games, but a very niche audience that, really enjoys racing. And yeah, when you're trying to mix in Locke so much for 5, okay, it was Agent Locke.
Why did they
so
go for Locke?
I don't know.
Why did they go for Locke? They have Chief. They have all the people from the books that everyone should be super excited about that they did nothing with.
Mm-hmm.
And God, he's one of my favorite characters. I'm drawing a blank on his name. Buck, thank you.
Yeah.
Eddie Buck. Oh, sorry, I was thinking Eddie Brock. I'm like, that's not right. That's not right. That's not right.
Nope. And that I'm now thinking of the Venom with the teeth now, and
yeah, right. So yeah, Eddie Buck. Here's your character. You fleshed him out already. He's interesting. Everyone loves it. He's voiced by Nathan goddamn Fillion. You've got star power, and you give it to Locke.
Oh no, Buck's he's a side character. He's got a couple quippy lines here and there, and that's it.
Yeah, like who is Locke? For the love of God!
They built up the podcast with Find the Truth or whatever they had called it, and had this big drag story. And oh man,
it's just a complete and utter loss of identity, and it's so weird that Dude Bro Culture was the Microsoft identity, and they don't even have that anymore.
Mm-hmm.
It got me so not excited. And, everyone's afraid of, a Battle Royale style Halo. And I'm like, that actually could work pretty well. I mean, if you're trying to play Halo in a Battle Royale style of 100 people playing Halo all at once, that's kind of cool. Like, I think they could do something kind of interesting with that formula. In the back of my head, I don't think it's a Halo thing, but I do think it's a Gears thing.
Interesting. And that's the tough thing when you have two shooter franchises. Yeah, what do you do?
Especially if it was kind of based in this indoor-outdoor model of a destroyed cityscapes or something like that. Something with a lot of tight, narrow corridors, and but then big, wide open areas with solid cover for both, on the outside, like with just like a bus stop area where you just can't shoot through a roof or something like that. Something with enough cover to really allow it so sniper play isn't the only thing that matters.
Right.
Or riding rockets, I guess, is another thing. But that's more of a Fortnite thing, at least I hope.
God, that's really interesting. I didn't think that, if they're going to talk Gears of War 5, a Battle Royale would make sense there.
Especially since it's more or less just like a horde mode.
Yeah.
Every horde person is a person.
Oh, yeah, that good old horde mode. But a Halo Battle Royale, that would be the first Battle Royale game I'd be interested to try. So it's kind of mix and match there. It'd be very interesting. I like overall what Phil Spencer has done. He rescued the Xbox brand from the TV sports brand of Don Matrick, but he really, I think, has to set up more for the next generation, because this one is a wash. And I hope we're not talking Wii U 2016 sparseness sort of situation, but it may have to be that way.
When we opened up, we were just like, this could go one of two ways, and I'm thinking to myself, this is only going to go one way. But I really hope it doesn't go I don't want to be surprised and super hype. I know it's odd to say, but I don't want to be surprised and super hype. What I want to be is put in a place where I'm like, they're going somewhere.
Yes. Yeah.
They're finally going somewhere with a strong identity. And I want to be able to go, Xbox, that's the console I go to if I want this experience. And the PS4 is currently giving me the console that's giving me the experience of some very solid single-player games or single-player experiences, or just intimate experiences. I should say. Yeah. Whereas with Xbox, I don't even see it as the multiplayer console, because you can play Destiny and all these other games that are massively multiplayer on the PS4 as well. In fact, I would think that Destiny is probably doing better on PS4.
Oh, Xbox. Yeah, they had the promotion dollars behind it for sure.
So, in that note, just kind of I just want Xbox to walk away, not with, hey, we've got this really cool looking Gears of War game and this cool Halo game, and look, Ori's coming. I'm like, I want them to walk away. So that's the console I'm going to get if I want this.
Yeah. And I would love to see them, be fully confident and have faith behind the services they're offering. Make that push to say, hey, all Xbox Live Gold members, you have Games Pass included, or something to that extent. I mean, that would really be a good sign of what's going forward for Microsoft. Absolutely.
Right. Honestly, I feel like they're going to increase Xbox Live Gold, but then include Game Pass with it.
Sure.
So the year will cost, instead of $60, $80.
Yeah, I could see that, and I'd be okay with it. Yeah.
Still allow people to pay monthly for just the Xbox Live service, but if you want more than that, you have to get the Games Pass service. The kind of hint that this is the direction they want to move forward. So that's what I would say is what I expect from Games Pass and Xbox Live Gold moving forward is a bundled service that's more expensive, but because of the features, everyone's going to go, you know what, that's okay. That's fine.
Yeah, there's so much to consider with Microsoft. It's making me actually really excited for their conference overall. There's lots to talk about and so many directions they could go. Well, Miles, thank you so much for calling in. Really good to catch up with you.
Time.
Yeah, great to catch up with you, and we'll be talking more soon.
I hope so. Maybe we can talk about Smash.
Hey.
I don't think anyone really talks about it these days.
No, I'm sure very soon we'll have lots to talk about with Smash Brothers.
Yeah, I'm sure. Sometime, I'll hope next time you'll be able to show me your...
All right. Take it easy, man.
All right, peace.
Well, guys, thanks so much for calling in. Really, really appreciate that. When we come back, we'll talk about the games I've been playing. One that I did end up beating. Surprisingly, I thought it would take the whole month, but it didn't. And then we'll talk about what's coming up this week. That's when we come back. You're on the Power Switch. Welcome back to the Power Switch. This week's Tempo Control music is brought to you by Tatsunoko vs. Capcom. You can find a new video game music top 10 list from a specific game soundtrack every Tuesday over at youtube.com/rhymeswithasia. So what have I been playing? Of course I've been playing that God of War. And I beat God of War. I thought it'd be like, I'd chip a little bit here and there. I don't have that much time. It'll take me the whole month. Maybe I'll lead up to Detroit and I'll be playing until then. Nope, I started playing it in 3-hour chunks and I beat it in a rather short period of time. Honestly, I love the game. It is my prohibitive game of the year right now. I mean, granted, not much else has come out. You can say, Celeste is up there. Some people really like Monster Hunter World, but this is the game of the year to beat. Much like, Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild last year, put it down. This is on that masterpiece level, and it's going to be tough to beat. Granted, Super Smash Brothers, if it comes out in 2018, yeah, I may like that more. I have that soft spot for Smash Brothers, but I mean, gosh, Red Dead Redemption 2 is going to be probably in that contention as well. But man, God of War was for real goddamn good. Of course, no spoilers. Go play that game. Go watch Spoiler Cast. I mean, Cory Barlog did great PR to it. I think game companies should take an example, developers, publishers, what have you, take an example of what Cory Barlog was doing on the PR front, going around talking up the game, for one, before launch, and then after launch, doing spoiler casts with different influencer communities. I mean, kind of funny. Easy Allies, IGN, GameSpot. I mean, all over. And really, it's what those communities need after you beat a game like that. If you are big into Norse mythology, I think you will kind of see more of where the twists and turns of the game are going. Because I think they did a really good job with, granted, yes, they did take creative liberties on certain characters, but they kind of stuck to what Norse mythology was pretty well. And that's, someone I don't have much interest in it, but, kind of reading after the fact, it's like, oh yeah, they kind of followed some threads here pretty well. And, I think they did a great job of setting up future games. You even hear Cory Barlog talk about how, yeah, we wanted to do this and we wanted to go, big and bigger, but then we realized we're already in game 2. So yeah, scale it down, make it more of an intimate setting, talking about the family bonds and what parents do for their children. I think that was really, really powerful. Great ending moments, of course. Do know there is a secret ending. I missed the secret ending, had to look up and say that there was one. And so I was playing up until midnight, and to get that initial, roll credits, and you go back in kind of the transport room, and then it's like, okay, save, turn off, and then it's like, oh, go back home. Okay, all right. So definitely do that. Loved God of War. That's one with a bullet right now on my Game of the Year of 2018 list. So we'll see if that is beaten. Starting Final Fantasy VII as well. I also do a podcast with my wife called A Dramatic Reading, where every week we read a piece of erotic fan fiction from fanfiction.net, and we pick a different pop culture topic every week. So we're on social media there at Dramatic Read. It's still a new YouTube channel, so it may be tough to search A Dramatic Reading, so there's no custom URL yet. But if you want to do Dramatic Read on social media, if you're interested, if that sounds like something interesting to you, where we pick bad fan fiction and read and riff on it. But yeah, so this past week was Final Fantasy VII, and so talking about it's like, oh, that's a game we can play together. So about an hour and change into that, like really early, just got to like the beginner section, that little save point there where you could ask the characters there and have all that list of beginner questions. So still very early, kind of trying to make some more work into that, as that's even now the farthest I've gotten into Final Fantasy VII. So some more progress to be done there. Games coming out this week. Tuesday, May 8th is a big day. We got 4 notable games there. First of all, Conan Exiles. Been an early access game for a while. I may have even talking about on the PowerSwitch. We were talking about, like, one of the callers called in. I was talking about the early access for Conan Exiles. Finally coming out on PS4, Xbox One, and PC. Pillars of Eternity 2, Deadfire. This is the sequel to the isometric RPG Pillars of Eternity. So that's coming to PC. The new expansion for Destiny 2, trying to keep that community alive. This is Warmind. So that's coming to PS4, Xbox One, and PC on Tuesday, May 8th. Interesting things with Destiny 2 as well. Activision did not include Destiny 2 features and sales and revenue and all that in their call. It seems like that has greatly disappointed them. Not only that, but Humble, in their Humble monthly bundle, as Matt was referencing on the show, they're having Destiny 2 included this month. Destiny 2 on PC. You get it through, the battle.net, of course. But yeah, for $12, you can say, oh, get Destiny 2 right now on PC and other games for the month when they reveal that at the end of the month. So Destiny 2, struggling. Will be interesting when big games of a service like, The Division 2, when Ubisoft reveals that at this year's E3, like, how are they going to mix that up? Is that a game that gets a battle royale or something like that? So surprising that Destiny 2 is struggling, but the new expansion there. And then also Tacoma. Tacoma, originally on Xbox One and PC. This is from Fulbright. Gone Home was their original breakout hit. So this is the sequel from the makers of Gone Home. I liked Tacoma when I played it on PC. It's a short game. You kind of explore a space station and you're recreating AI kind of replications of what happened on this space station to make it so deserted. You have to kind of piece the story together. A 2 or 3 hour game, maybe at most, not a very long game, but it's now coming to PS4 on May 8th. So check that out if that interests you and you liked Gone Home. That'll do it for this episode of The Power Switch. We are hosted by rhymeswithasia.com, and we're on YouTube and Twitch at Rhymes with Asia. Find us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at The Power Switch. I am at Pete Speakeasy. You can email us any questions, concerns, comments, or opportunities at powerswitchpod@gmail.com. And you can subscribe to The Power Switch on podcast services such as Apple Podcasts, Google Play, and Stitcher. And if you could be so kind as to leave a review, that would really help as well. Most importantly, to participate in future episodes, you should join our community on Discord by visiting rhymeswithasia.com/call. Now, it's a small but growing community, so now is the perfect time to have your voice heard on this podcast. If you want a YouTube video to watch, check out Jim Sterling's Jimquisition recently on Harry Potter and the Crock of Shit. On this show a couple episodes ago, I mentioned that there's a Harry Potter mobile game, Harry Potter Hogwarts Mystery, that's coming out. And I said it'd be interesting to keep your eye on this game and see what happens. Because, it's Harry Potter. It's a big brand. Well, I did not realize, and I don't think many people realized, that it would be remembered for being a horrific microtransaction. All of the worst things about microtransactions in mobile games. even when it's starting as, the avatar you make attending school is strangled and choked by vines. And to free them, you can either wait or you can pay money. Just kind of hold you at ransom like that. And that's the first really experience that you can get. And it just gets worse and worse. Check out Jim Sterling's video there in the show notes. Definitely recommended. It's kind of horrifying. So I think Saturdays, 2 p.m., I think that can work pretty well. Got some good turnout here for this one. I'm definitely happy with that. With the Sony one, I had to record on a Thursday night. That may be a little rough, but we'll see if a big news story comes along and we have to record on a weeknight. See how that works out to get people talking. But this is a good episode. I'm happy with this one for sure. So stay tuned to our Discord channel as everything develops. And regardless whether it's live or on your own time, I look forward to you joining us for our next episode. With that, I am Peter Spezia. Until next time, switch up, call in, game on.